Dear students, welcome back to the online sessions on AEC. In today's session, we'll try to cope up with the problems of unit number 3 and unit number 4. Okay, so for doing problems, what is very much important is that knowing the formulas. If you know the formulas of power amplifiers circuits, that means in a power amplifier circuits, we have efficiency formulas for class A, class B, class AB amplifiers. And in the case of the oscillators, we're going to have the frequency of oscillations and condition of oscillations formulas. So if you know these two formulas beforehand, you can easily solve the problems given in the end examinations, because all the problems are going to be direct problems. If you know the formulas, you are 80% done with the problem. 20% is only you have to put them onto the paper. Okay, if you have calculator, then you can easily solve the problems. Let us straight away go into the problems now. Now we'll go with these problems now on oscillators. Unit number 3, we have covered oscillators. In unit number 4, we have completed power amplifiers or large signal amplifiers. So in unit number 3, let us do some problems in oscillators. So find the operating frequency of a transistor Hartley oscillator. So the given oscillator is Hartley oscillator. You have to find out the frequency of oscillations. That means frequency, operating frequency means what? What is the oscillations frequency, or what is the frequency of oscillations produced by the Hartley oscillators? If the circuit components L1, L2 is given as something like 50 microhenry and L2 is equal to 1 millihenry, and the mutual inductance between the two coils is 10 microhenry, and also the capacitance is given as 10 picofarads. Now we have to know this formula. 1 by 2 pi under root of LC is the formula for frequency of oscillations for the LC type of oscillators. In LC type, we have subcategory as Hartley oscillator and Colpitts oscillator. So in the problem given, it is Hartley oscillator. Therefore, we have to consider Hartley oscillator. So what is the general block diagram of this Hartley oscillator? You're going to have an amplifier A. Output of amplifier A is connected to the input of the Hartley oscillator, and output of Hartley is going to the input of the amplifier circuit. Okay. Now the B feedback network is known as the Hartley network. That is combination of L1, L2 in parallel to C. There is going to be a ground terminal between L1 and L2. If you see these two, what is this? There is a ground terminal between L1 and L2. And in parallel to L1 and L2, you're going to have the capacitor C, right? Now, what is the formula for frequency of oscillations? F is equal to 1 by 2 pi under root of L into C. In the case of Hartley oscillator, the inductor is going to take the lead. Therefore, this LC I'll write as total effective inductance value of the circuit as L suffix T, which I can write as equal to what? L1 plus L2 plus 2 into M. What is M? M is known as mutual inductance. That means there is going to be transfer of there will be a transfer of flux lines from L1 to L2 and also from L2 to L1 due to the mutual inductance. Therefore, from L1 to L2 it is M, L2 to L1 it is going to be M. So therefore it will be 2M. Now M is taken as equal to how much? 10 microhenry. L1, L2 is given to us, C is also given to us. That's it. Once you know the formula, simply expand this LT is equal to L1 plus L2 plus 2 into M. Simply substitute all of them here and we'll be getting the frequency of oscillations of Hartley oscillator as 1539 kilohertz. What does it mean? We have got around 1.5 megahertz signal. That means Hartley oscillators are used for high frequency oscillations. Any frequency which is going to be more than 1 megahertz comes under the high frequency of oscillations. So therefore, LC oscillators are normally used to generate high frequency oscillations. So oscillator produces AC signal without any AC input signal. So it produces oscillations without any input signal oscillations. Now here also same problem has been given. Okay, but see, when problem is given, he'll give one parameter, he'll miss some other parameters. He may ask us to find out the missing parameters. So various varieties of problems are normally going to come here. So let us look into another variety. So I'll take in the problem for a variety. So in the exam, what happens is these different varieties will be given with different parameter values, with different component values. Simply you have to substitute them. That's all. Okay. So therefore, know the procedure and know how to solve the problem. That's all. Now a Hartley oscillator is designed with L1 is given as 2 millihenry, L2 20 microhenry, and a variable capacitance. Yeah, here it is given as variable capacitance. Next, determine the range of capacitance values if the frequency of oscillations are varied between 950 to 2050 kilohertz. That means here the frequency range has been given to us, but value of capacitor we have to find out. That is what the parameters he has given. That means he has given what parameters? L1 he has given, L2 he has given in the problem. F0 is given ranging between 950 kilohertz to 2050 kilohertz. C1 is the value of capacitance for the frequency range of oscillations. For a frequency of oscillations as F is equal to 950 kilohertz. And C2 value is going to be for the frequency of oscillations 2050 kilohertz. That means we will be getting two capacitance values. That means we can take any capacitor value to operate the circuit in a given range of frequencies. So we know the formula F is equal to 1 by 2 pi under root LC. L is equal to L1 plus L2. There is no 2M. There is no plus 2M here. See, observe here carefully. Because in the problem given, he has not given mutual inductance value. So therefore, we neglect the mutual inductance value if it is not given in the problem. If it is given, then only we are going to consider. This is what one important point. Then next, we will be looking for first frequency range 950 kilohertz. So therefore, this I can write as equal to 2 pi f1, 1 by under root of L1 plus L2 into C1. So by taking squaring on both sides, I can just simply take 2 pi f1 whole square into this factor. Thereby I can get L1 plus L2 into C1. Okay. So I have to find out the value for C1. So C1, I'll take it on to this side, and this factor, that is 2 pi f1 whole square, I'll take into the denominator of this ratio. Then I can write C1 is equal to 1 by L1 plus L2 into 2 pi f1 whole square. Okay. Okay. Now this same factor I can write in terms of whole square as something like 1 by 2 pi f1 into under root L1 plus L2 whole square. That's it. So all the values known to us. F1 is 950 kilohertz. 2 pi is a constant. Under root of L1 plus L2 is given. So I can find out C1 by substituting all these values. You can find out C1 equal 13.9 picofarads. Similarly, we can get the value for C2 with the same formula. Okay. So C2 we have got as equal to 2.98 picofarads. Therefore, the range of capacitance values required will be 2.98 pico to 13.9 picofarads. See here, as the frequency increases, the capacitance value is decreasing. That is important point. Okay, so this is what another variety of the problems. The next variety is on the Colpitts oscillator. Okay, so another problem is given Colpitts oscillator. That means Colpitts means what? We simply interchange inductors by capacitor and capacitor by an inductor. So on the first arm in the feedback network, we'll be having the C1 and C2. In between C1 and C2, you're going to have the ground connection. See this? So then there will be inductor parallel to C1 and C2. Right, that's it. And output of amplifier is connected to the feedback network, and output of feedback is connected to the amplifier circuit. This is the general block diagram of the LC oscillator circuit, sorry, LC circuit for Colpitt's configuration. So Colpitt's means what? Colpitt's, what is the first letter in Colpitt's? C. C is nothing but capacitor. So capacitor is going to lead here. That is why two capacitors, one inductor. This leads by in terms of count, not by the phase. Okay. So for a Colpitt's oscillator circuit, the component values are given as RC is given. Okay. Collector resistance is 1.5K. C1 0.018 microfarad. C2 is given 0.16 microfarad. L is given. VCC is given. Find the values of feedback factor. Feedback factor, you have to find out minimum HFE to obtain sustained oscillations. And finally, frequency of oscillations. See, this is another variety. That means same variety problem can be asked for Hartley as well. But no problem, Hartley and Colpitt's both are same. Right, so both are same except interchanging of the inductor and capacitor values. Right, so here the equivalent C value is written as equal to C1 C2 by C1 plus C2. Unlike in Hartley, we have written L is equal to L1 plus L2. That is only the difference. And the formula is going to be same over here, right? Now output is fed back between the terminals 2 and 3. Output of amplifier is fed back between 2 and 3 terminals. Hence, the output voltage VF is the voltage between 2 and 3 terminals. The input is fed. The input is feedback. The input to the feedback applied through L1, and that means the input to the amplifier applied from feedback circuit is applied between the terminals 1 and 3. This is what 1 and 3 are the input terminals of the transistor amplifier. So that's what 1 and 3. That means what it is applied through L and C1. Now, therefore, what is beta factor? Beta is nothing but the feedback factor of the feedback network, which is nothing but output voltage by input voltage. So both of them are voltages. Output is a voltage, input is a voltage. So what type of amplifier has been formed here? Voltage, output is voltage, input is also voltage. That means, what type of configuration it is that you have to bother about? There are 4 types of configurations. That is voltage series, voltage shunt, current series, current shunt kind of configurations. Right. Output we are getting voltage. Same voltage has been applied to the feedback. That is called VF. So output is a sampled one is a voltage. And how we are adding it? As a mixer or as a shunt? It's a mixer. It's called as a voltage series configuration. Voltage series topology configuration. So we simply going to get voltage amplifier here because of voltage series configuration. Well, so VF is nothing but voltage across the output terminals 2 and 3. So across output, what terminal we have? You have a capacitor C2. Therefore, the drop is nothing but I into its reactance. Current into resistance is nothing but voltage. What is the resistance value for capacitor to be written as in the reactance I into XC2 whole by voltage across C1. See, this is the voltage that you are applying to the input now. So it is nothing but voltage across C1. That's called XC1. All right. So therefore, II will get cancelled. We assume that same current is flowing through these 2 terminals because our sampling is voltage. We are not related to the current. Therefore, current will take as same, equal. We cancel them out. Then what is XC2? 1 by j omega C2, XC1 1 by j omega C1. So I can write beta is equal to C1 by C2. Now, from the analysis of the Colpitt's oscillator, we know the expression for the condition of oscillations going to be HF equal to C2 by C1. Beta should be reverse of this, so that when you multiply these two, you should get value as 1. Because in oscillator circuits, we have to satisfy the Barkhasan criteria to produce sustained oscillations, which is known as mod A beta is equal to 1. That means the beta and HFE should be inversely proportional. That is why just by closing the eyes, if you know HFE, you can write the beta value. If you know beta, you can write the HFE value. So that we already know that when you multiply HFE into beta, HFE is nothing but gain of the amplifier, beta is nothing but gain of the feedback circuit. When you multiply these two, HFE and beta, you should get the value as 1 to provide sustained oscillations. So that is why HFE is definitely will be written reverse. So that means we have computed this here, beta is equal to C1 by C2. Now we can write HFE is equal to C2 by C1 by the concept that the oscillator has to satisfy Barkhasan criteria to produce sustained oscillations. To produce sustained oscillations, it has to satisfy Barkhasan criteria. So that is an important concept. So therefore, for Colpitt's oscillator, we can write HFE is equal to, using Barkhasan criteria, A beta is equal to 1. We can write that. So from this, I can say a beta is equal to 1 by A, or otherwise I can say beta is equal to C1 by C2. Another way we can just simply compute for A beta if you know A. That means you need not use with the circuit symbols. So feedback factor you have to find out called beta, known as C1 by C2. So C1 is given to us, C2 is given to us. We can find out beta. Beta is a constant value, no dimensions. Just no units will be given to beta, because it is a constant, right? Then next, we have to find out minimum gain to obtain sustained oscillations. Now, what is the minimum gain required? HFE should be equal to 1 by beta. Because we know Barkhasan criteria, HFE into beta should be equal to 1. Therefore, HFE is equal to, from that 1 by beta I can write. Therefore, A beta is equal to HFE into beta, which is equal to, HFE is nothing but 1 by beta into beta is equal to 1. So HFE is equal to 1 by beta. Already beta value we know, 0.11. So 1 by beta is nothing but 9. Therefore, the minimum gain required in the amplifier circuit, in the amplifier to obtain sustained oscillations is equal to 9. Finally, frequency of oscillations is equal to 1 by 2 pi under root of L into C suffix T. So see what is CT in the Colpitt's oscillator? It is nothing but C1 C2 by C1 plus C2. Okay. Right. So this is what the basic formula for CT. Simply substitute all these values here. C1 C2 is known to us. L is known to us. That's it. You can find out the frequency of oscillations. And the result what we got is approximately as 1 gigahertz. That means we have got a high frequency amplifier circuit. So this is how we normally going to have it for the Colpitt's and Hartley oscillator circuits. Okay. So one more problem we'll try to solve for the, RC phase shift oscillator. So giving the values, substituting them directly is very easy issue. So that is why I did not took that particular part. Let us go with the RC phase shift oscillator problem. Now, what is the problem given? Select the value of capacitor C and a transistor gain HFE to provide an oscillations with frequency F0 is equal to 2 kilohertz. That means you have to find out the value for C. Frequency of oscillation has been given to us. Next, the circuit values are HIE is given. What is HIE? Input resistance of a common emitter amplifier circuit. R1 is, R1 auto are known as biasing resistors, given as something like this. R1 20K, R2 80K, RC something given as 10K. R is given as 8K. Find the value of the feedback resistor R3. So first of all, you have to find out C. So you should know this formula. This is what I was talking to you. F0 is equal to 1 by 2 pi RC under root of 6 plus 4K is the formula for frequency of oscillations in RC phase shift oscillator. You have to mug up this formula better. Okay, if you mug up this straight away, you will solve this problem in just 5 to 10 minutes at the most. So therefore, let us substitute this in the formula towards finding out C. Okay, frequency is given 2 kilohertz. 4K. What is K? RC by R. What is RC given as 10K? What is R given as 8K? Just substitute them. We get value of C is equal to 2.99 nanofarads. Now value of transistor gain, you have to find out the value of transistor gain HFE. Now what is the formula for HFE we have derived? Now this also you should remember, that is for condition of oscillations in RC phase shift oscillator. HFE should be greater than or equal to 29 by K plus 23 plus 4K. You should remember this numericals also because this is there in the formula altogether. So let us imagine that we know this formula beforehand and we are substituting with this formula. HFE greater than or equal to 29 into what is K? K is nothing but RC by R. So RC remains in the denominator, R will come in the numerator. Plus 23 plus 4K, K is RC by R, I can write. Now RC I know, R I know. Just simply I can substitute these values. I'll be getting this value as 51.2. So since the value is 51.2, we say that HFE greater than or equal to 51.2 will provide sufficient loop gain for the circuit to operate as an oscillator circuit, as an oscillator. So oscillator is a circuit, it produces output without any AC input signal. So we can assume HFE is equal to 60 to provide for the practical applications in this circuit. So take somewhat higher value, which is called around 60. Next is that we have to find out the feedback resistor R3. Yeah, this is what somewhat analysis is there. What is R3? See, what is the circuit diagram for the RC phase shift oscillator? Basic amplifier is simple CE amplifier, voltage divider bias. We have used that. R1, R2 biasing resistors, R3, RE stabilizing resistor, CE is a bypass capacitor. Then we are going to use a ladder of capacitor, resistor, capacitor, resistor, capacitor, resistor, ladder combinations. Now, the last resistor value we have to take care, right? It is not exactly, it should be, that means the overall resistor connected from capacitor to the input of the amplifier should be equivalent to R. Therefore, we just to do this kind of a connection here. R3 will take intentionally as a R minus Ri, where Ri is the internal input resistance of the amplifier circuit. Okay, that means this is the amplifier, the input resistance H parameter equivalent is equal to HIE. RB is nothing but parallel combination of R1 and R2, and R3 is coming from here. See, R3 is coming from here. And the effective internal resistance, when you look at the input terminals from here, you're going to see RB in parallel with HIE, which is nothing but RI. Well, so R minus RI is taken as equal to R3. This is what the point which you have to compulsorily keep in mind whenever we're going to get the value for RI, value for R3. So RI is nothing but equal to parallel combination of RB and HIE. RB is nothing but R1 in parallel to R2, that is coming in parallel to HIE. You solve this. When you solve this, RI we will get as 1.8 kilo ohms. Therefore, R3 is equal to simply R minus RI. 8K minus 1.8K. We'll be getting this as 6.2 kilo ohms. So we discussed this in the earlier session, that is called a crystal oscillator. So in the feedback network, we're going to use, say for Colpitt's oscillator, if you take, instead of inductor, we are normally going to replace inductor by a crystal node, by a crystal oscillator. That means we simply replace this by a quartz crystal. Once you do this, the entire circuit is going to simply become like a crystal oscillator. And here we replace resistor by a radio frequency coil called RFC. Then the circuit simply comes under the crystal oscillator circuit. So here we are going to form a piece crystal oscillator by replacing inductor in a Colpitts oscillator by a crystal, quartz crystal as shown in this figure. Everything is going to be same. No change in the circuit diagram except the crystal in place of the inductor and RFC in place of resistor. But most importantly, the name has been given because of crystal in the feedback circuit. Here the crystal behaves as an inductor for a frequency slightly higher than the series resonant frequency of the circuit. So the basic working of the Pierce crystal oscillator is same as that of Colpitts oscillator. Now, why we use crystal? To achieve good frequency stability, we normally use the crystals, right? That is the advantage. So why we go with crystal oscillator? Because if at all we wanted to have a stable frequency output, if at all we want to achieve stability in terms of frequency, we go with crystal oscillators. So hence it is used in the computers, basic timing devices, in the electronic wristwatches for generating the clock frequency signals. So we use this type of oscillator like crystal oscillator in the microprocessor circuits. That means in order to give the clock signal to the microprocessor, we use these types of circuits. And also we use this in computers and in wristwatches also. We're going to use these types of the circuit. Okay. Now, important property of crystal is that it exhibits piezoelectric effect. That is what the important point. So crystal oscillator comes under tuned circuit oscillator, where crystal is widely used for RF oscillations, and the filters, as it is a compromise between piezoelectric activity of Roche salt and mechanical strength of a tourmaline, and also inexpensively available. So it is going to exhibit piezoelectric effect. That means if you apply mechanical vibrations as the input, we get electrical output as the output signal. Now, the frequency of oscillations is simply governed by the frequency of oscillations of LC oscillator. As F is equal to 1 by 2 pi under root LC, I can write. Okay, this formula is very easy to really remember. Into, because it is working like a tuned amplifier, it comes under tuned circuit. So simply we multiply with a Q of the circuit, that is under root Q square by 1 plus Q square. Usually the Q of the circuit is going to range between 10 power 4 to 10 power 6. And formula for Q is equal to omega L by R. That means the crystal equivalent circuit we can draw like this. Combination of series RLC in parallel with the capacitor. This is the crystal equivalent circuit. This crystal I can draw something like this. That is going to be the equivalent crystal oscillator circuit. So this is what regarding the crystal oscillator circuit. Okay. So these are the problems in the unit number 3, which are very, very easy, very, very simple to follow and understand. Okay. Well, thank you very much for today's session. Next session, what we'll do is we'll try to cover the problems of 4th unit, power amplifier circuits. There also, you should know the formulas for efficiency. Importantly, what is there actually in power amplifiers, especially efficiency and the distortion. Only 2 issues will be there in the power amplifiers. In the case of ordinary amplifiers, you're going to have many factors. What are the many factors you're going to have? You're going to have the gain of the amplifier. You're going to have input resistance, output resistance. Okay, input resistance, output resistance, voltage gain, current gain of the amplifier. Okay, and these are the parameters which are important in the case of the ordinary amplifier. Coming to power amplifiers, what we look into is only the efficiency and the distortion. So why efficiency is required in power amplifiers? Because in power amplifiers, we are going to convert DC power into AC power. That means in order to know how much input DC power has been converted into AC power, we have to use the efficiency. More the efficiency, better is the working of the circuit. That means better is the utilization of the input power to the power amplifier. That means efficiency is always going to speak about how best the circuit has used the input signal power. If the circuit uses the maximum input power, what does it mean? Power dissipation is also less, definitely. That is the advantage of looking into the efficiency aspect in the case of the power amplifiers. Next aspect is distortion. So always power amplifier suffers with the distortions. Therefore, distortion is also an important issue in the case of the power amplifiers. That's all. In power amplifiers, we really don't bother about beta. We don't bother about the input resistance, output resistance, current gain, voltage gain. We absolutely don't bother about all those things. So we bother about only two parameters in power amplifiers, that is efficiency and the distortion. That's all. So we concentrate on finding out only these two values in unit number 4. Thank you very much for today's session.